Hi there. Hope you guys are doing really, really well. My name is Brian. I am your queer psychic bestie, and I have a reading for you guys. So, this is going to be a monthly forecast for the sign of Taurus for the month of July. So, if you have Taurus anywhere in your chart, you vibe with Tauruses, maybe you're a cross watcher, whatever the case may be, this reading might resonate for you. As always, take what resonates and leave what doesn't, okay? If you would like to book a personal reading with me, you can do that through email or form submission on my website. All right, Taurus, let's see what July has in store for you guys. It feels like, this is kind of funny how my guides are giving this to me. It feels like you might be, you might have taken some L's recently, is how they're saying it to me. Like, it feels like you may have felt like you had some losses recently. It doesn't have to be financial. I also just heard rug swept from underneath me. Okay, interesting, Taurus. Maybe you've been going through the ringer a little bit in June, and it feels like July, I almost want to say, is here to change the tempo for you, is how this is coming through. Here to change the tempo is what I really want to say here. Sorry, I'm fidgeting because my back still hurts. If you didn't know, if you're not on the Discord, I have a pinched nerve in my back. It's just acting up, so don't mind me. Let's get into it. Bottom of the deck is your challenge. We've got the King of Cups. We've got the Star as well as the Seven of Swords. I did turn the King of Cups upright because in a challenge, I'm reading it like it's in reverse anyway. There's no need to have a double reversal like that, you know? But Taurus, it feels like... It almost feels like your challenge of July is keeping your composure, is almost how I really want to say this here. It feels like a lot of your challenge is like coming out of this very trying period and not letting it keep you down. It feels like you're kind of going around the curve here. You know, the way my guides are showing this to me is, you know, when you're doing like a, how do I say, like go-karting is how they're showing this to me. And you know, when you like go down the long stretch and then you like fly around the curve, that's what my guides are showing me right now. So it feels like you're kind of coming around, like you might be coming out of a darker period, or you're coming around from a more difficult period in your life, but it feels like you're needing to remain composed here. Like you need to be a little bit on top of dealing with your emotions and making sure that you're showing up how you want to show up in July and not allowing yourself to kind of fall back into like melancholy here, okay? Let's dive in. Let's talk about it. So you start with Justice right off the bat, which I do love to see because Justice is karma. It is getting what you deserve here. What I think is even more interesting is what it's crossed by. So as we know in a Celtic cross, the crossing card is either a help or a hindrance. The Chariot is a really big help. The Chariot, number one, is the fastest moving card in the deck, but also the Chariot as a crossing card is victory. Okay, so it feels like whatever, again, it's really like a... The way I'm hearing this is like dawn after dark, you know, like it feels like the light is finally shining on you guys in July in a way that feels really good. And I feel like your guides want you to run with it. They don't want you to fall back into these older patterns of thought, right? Sometimes, again, the way I'm hearing this is like sadness can be seductive, right? There's something almost, if we grow up sad or we spend a lot of time being sad, there is something very tempting about it. There is something very familiar for you, Taurus, about being sad here. And I feel like your guides are trying to break you out of that cycle. Yeah, a lot of this is inner child work for you guys. Page of Cups with the Page of Pentacles and then the High Priestess. I feel like for some of you, there's this weird energy here of like emotional distance between you and the inner child. And I almost feel like some of you could have compartmentalized your upbringing as like a, oops, I just hit the leg on my desk. I feel like some of you may be feeling really antsy because I'm all of a sudden like go to start this reading and I feel really antsy. it feels like some of you compartmentalized. You have almost like this fractured personality going on. You know, there's like a different version of you. You know, it's like a different you that was in childhood, which is true to an extent because it's the inner child, right? But it feels like you've created so much distance between you and the inner child as a result of dealing with emotional distant upbringing or an emotionally distant pair of parents here. You know, it feels kind of like the way my guides want me to explain this to you is like, I grew up in a household where there was like a lot of eating disorders and body dysmorphia, et cetera, et cetera. So I had for a very long time, I created a world where it was like me being separate from my body. It created like this like paradox where I wasn't understanding that me and my body are one and the same. It was just, well, it's separate. That's me and that's my body. You guys have kind of done this here, right? You kind of have like you and then your childhood. You know, you're kind of keeping them separate. But I feel like what you need to start doing in this month in July is reintegrating these parts of your childhood back into yourself, into your dominant personality, and learning from them, okay? Sun at the bottom of the deck again with the Five of Wands. A lot of you have struggles maintaining happiness or like being happy here. And it feels like it stems from, again, this like very long standing pattern of allowing yourself to fall back into sadness because it's comfortable. Just because something is comfortable doesn't mean it's good for us, right? Because even in your headspace, you've got the Five of Cups. Babe, you know that this is not the move. I feel like what you're forgetting here is that the way my guides are saying this is you know better. I think that's what you're forgetting right now is that you're like, well, I can cope better than this. I know I have correct coping mechanisms. I know that this is not how I should be acting right now. This is not how I should be carrying myself right now. So why am I? You know, it feels like there is this very much. I keep hearing the word niche. Like you could feel like this is why niche. I'm not understanding. I'm sorry. I'm not understanding why I'm getting niche here. Feels like you may think that this is like a niche coping mechanism going back to sadness, but it's not. For a lot of you, you learned this from the mother figure with the Empress coming out here, and the Eight of Swords and the Two of Pentacles. Some of you could have had a mother figure that struggled with like depression is how this is coming through, because it does kind of feel like you grew up in a household where sadness was just kind of there, you know, and I feel like some of you are recognizing this, but I would say give yourself a little bit of a pat on the back here because it feels like when you think of this as like a niche, because you're not using it as a like a niche interest kind of thing. It feels like I'm gonna be a little blunt here. Feels like you're just kind of ostracizing yourself. You know, you're like, well, no one else is like this, so I'm just a freak. I'm a weirdo. You know, the song Creep, you know, and I feel like your guides are letting you know, hey, this is not as niche as you think it is. A lot of people fall into this, so don't beat yourself up just because sadness is the default for you. You know, instead of beating ourselves up, maybe we look at why it's there. What is it still doing here? What does it want from me? And how can I get rid of it, right? Because that's where it feels like this is leading you. Because in your physical world, you've got the Lovers. Some of you may have a really, like, strong partnership that you're leaning into here. Four of Wands in the Challenge. With the Queen of Swords, I feel like some of you have a strong partner, but it's almost like you're, again, I'm hearing miles away from them. Maybe this is a long distance relationship for someone, but some of you, it feels like you're just kind of not connecting with the partner in the way that you want to. Yeah, Two of Swords. Why are we making decisions about this? Two of Swords is a decision card. Eight of Pentacles, Justice. Oh, okay, thank you. One of my guides is saying this to me. Making a conscious decision every day to work on your relationship is a choice. You have to choose that, okay? Some of you guys here, I feel like you are doing that, which is a great step here with the Judgment. With the, funny I said Judgment, but with Justice, the Eight of Pentacles here and the Two of Swords. I think that it is really important to work on your relationship like you are right now, but I also think some of you are using this as a little bit of a smokescreen because you don't want to work on yourself, because you don't want to look at your own stuff. You are just kind of becoming absorbed in the relationship, right? You're becoming kind of like There's a little bit of codependency here showing up. Yeah, you have the Fool when I just split the deck. Fool and the Two of Wands. Yeah, I feel like, again, Two of Wands is like stagnancy. I really feel like a lot of you in July are going to be recognizing that the effort you're putting into your relationship is good, but it is a little bit, like I said, I keep hearing it smokescreen. Okay, there's a little bit of like you not allowing yourself to be sort of like in a prominent position in your own life is how I'm hearing this. You know, it's a little bit backseat driver, but for your own life, and you're using the connection as the excuse here. In the past, you've had the King of Swords. I feel like some of you, I feel like you might be doing this because in the past you struggle to hold yourself accountable without being like overtly critical of yourself. And I feel like a lot of you don't want to fall back into that old pattern of being overly critical and like overly harsh, but instead it's like you went from being overly harsh to being very avoidant about the topic. And I feel like it's like your guides want you to find a better middle ground here. You know, you don't have to crucify yourself, but you do need to confront Hanged Man in reverse. You cannot run forever here, you know. Taurus, this really feels like a very introspective month for you. This is a very heavy emotional lifting month for you, I feel like, in July. Like you're really looking at these coping mechanisms and these outdated ways of being and asking yourself what they're still doing here and what are they providing for you. You've got the Five of Cups, like I said, Five of Cups with the Seven of Pentacles and the Hanged Man in reverse. I think a lot of you also are getting tired of being the same. I'm going to be honest here. I'm going to be blunt with it. You know, I feel like a lot of you are recognizing that there is nothing new here. There is no sort of change happening, and you're a bit tired of it. You're kind of over it. And I feel like that is something that's coming off of the tail end of this kind of past of what you had going on here of being very hypercritical and like being very like in your own face about it is how I'm hearing it. Yeah, because you've got the Lovers and the Knight of Cups in your challenge again, okay? Babes, I don't know who I'm calling out here, but like you gotta stop hiding in your relationship. Your relationship with yourself is suffering because you're so intoxicated by working on your romantic relationship here, okay? When we talk about getting into a relationship, you know, some of us can have a habit of coming into a relationship like this where we become very codependent. But I always tell my clients relationships take one person and one person showing up as themselves and meeting in the middle. Okay. Right now, I don't want to be mean here, but you are falling into codependency again. Okay. And it's like you're struggling to show up as yourself. And I feel like July is here to remind you that you exist as a full person outside of your relationship. Okay, your relationship is not the end all be all, you know? Because even in your near future, you have the Five of Pentacles. I feel like some of you are a little scared here, you know? You're like, well, if I stop focusing on my relationship, it will fall apart. But the way my guides are giving this to me is like, if you're the only person working on the relationship, then maybe it was destined to fall apart. If you're the only person that's putting effort into something that's supposed to be a tango of two people, then what's going to happen? The tango is going to stop. You know, I feel like King of Pentacles? Hold on, let me get a few more out here. I feel like also some of you, I'm going to be a little mean right now. Some of you are showing up as being a little absent in the relationship. Just because you are so focused on your career. This is going to be very specific for someone. But with the Emperor, the King of Pentacles, and the Four of Swords, the other party in your relationship might have expressed this to you of like, hey, I don't feel like I'm seeing enough of you. I don't feel like I am hearing enough of you. And I feel like for some of you, there is, again, this very strong will to like only focus on career, to like only be focusing on the money. And of course we need money to live. We're living in capitalism. Let's be real here, you know, but I feel like you kind of, this is such a weird reading because For some of you, I think the those of you that are like struggling with codependency are a different group of people than those of you that are struggling with like spending too much time at work. Okay, let me just say that. Okay, I feel like I'm getting two strong narratives here. I don't feel like I feel like some of you, you guys again, you guys Tauruses are so funny. It's like the two collectives here. You're kind of coming in at the opposite end of the spectrum, right? Because you have some of you that are like only about work. You're like work, 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 money, 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 money. And then you have others of you that are like only about the relationship. And it feels like those of you that are spending too much time at work, it feels like this, it may not be ending in your favor. I'm going to say it that way. The Chariot. Yeah, I feel like some of you, there's gonna be a conversation here for those of you. This is like a side piece, is what I'm hearing. But like for those of you that are spending so much time at work, there's gonna be a conversation about it. Whether or not your partner feels heard, seen, validated is questionable to me. I don't think they really do. But some of you will be getting a conversation. And like I said, those of you that are struggling with codependency issues, that's not for you. Okay. How you view yourself right now, Taurus, you've got the Ace of Pentacles. So regardless of whether or not there are two very distinct groups of Tauruses in this reading, it seems like the common place here is that both groups are concerned about money, are concerned about finances here. But also feels like some of you have, the way I'm hearing is like relaxed a little bit in the financial world. It feels like with the Five of Wands in the reverse here, the Sun, and then the Ten of Pentacles, some of you, even though things are looking really good financially around you, it feels like that inner conflict may be coming in to haunt you a little bit. You know, again, it's sort of going back to, my guides are bringing me back to your past here, again, to the inner children. Some of you need to work on the lack mindset here, okay? It feels like July is going to be a very illuminating month, I want to say, for you guys. But I feel like, how do I say this? The way my guides want me to say this is kind of funny, but like, they're like, you have money in the bank, you don't need to worry. That's how this is coming through, Taurus. You know, it feels like some of you, again, have worked really hard to get into this really good financial place for yourself, but there's still that worry. There's still that, let me overcompensate for that worry, and let me work this overtime, and let me stack and stack and stack and stack and stack, instead of just giving myself a breather room here. Again, Six of Cups with the Ten of Swords at the bottom of the deck. It feels like some of you, the lack comes from childhood as well. I said that just before. The Queen of Wands is also back there. This is coming through a little odd. You could have had a family that was dispassionate. I don't even know if that's a word. But it feels like you may have been the most passionate one amongst the family. It almost feels like there's just a family unit here of, like a ho-hum is almost what I want to say here. And you were the only one that showed up with passion. And so as a result, it feels like that passion was never reciprocated back to you, or you never saw it in your upbringing. And so it created this like lack mentality again from the parents, where they're just kind of like, oh, whatever, it is what it is. Like almost like downplayed your achievements is what I want to say here, or downplayed your excitement about things, maybe not your achievements. But as a result, it's now got you in this world again where you're kind of wrapped up being like, oh, money, 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 money. And like I said, July financially is looking good for you, babe. It's just a matter of you versus your brain here is really how it's coming through. Because even in your superpower right now, you have the Seven of Pentacles. I'm telling you, babe, you've been sitting on a nest egg here. Taurus, it feels like you've been accumulating wealth here, or you've been like sitting on your money in a really smart way. And it feels like this is a really good boon for you. Really good positive for you. Okay. I feel like this goes back to, again, disproving the inner critic here. You know, disproving that inner voice for you of like, well, I'm not good enough, or I don't have enough money, or I don't have enough this. Queen of Pentacles, I can't make it up. A lot of you, I feel like, have, it's like you've worked on the mom wound in the physical. Like you may have enough financial resources here, but you haven't worked on it in the emotional. Yeah, Wheel of Fortune and Judgment. It feels like for a lot of you here, your superpower is, again, not letting, or your advice for your superpower here is like not letting the past resurface. You know, it feels like with this Queen of Pentacles, the Wheel of Fortune, and Judgment, some of you may be in this place of battling the past when it comes back up again. But I feel like the way I'm hearing it from my own guides is like you need to disprove the belief. And so if the belief is I don't have enough, how do I disprove it? Well, let me look at it. You know, let me budget it out. You know, you could budget out and be like, okay, I could lose my job for 2 years and I'm still okay. That's going to disprove the belief that you don't have enough. Okay. There's a lot here about needing to work against a negative or poisonous belief system. Okay. That's what this month is really feeling like it's all about for you, Taurus. Because even in your hopes and fears is the Six of Pentacles. You know, your hope is that things get better. And I feel like this isn't even financially. This just feels like in general, but it is like, that's the weird thing here. Again, like I told you, it's like this reading is coming full circle because things are getting better. Things do feel good. Again, I'm seeing the, what is that? I keep wanting to call it bumper cars, but that's not it. And I lost it. Go-karting, thank you. You know, I keep seeing it going around the bend, like things are heating up, things are moving faster, things are looking really good. And yet for some reason here, your hope is still like, well, I hope it gets better. I hope it's going to get better. And I feel like your guides are not warning you, but wanting you to look around and be like, it is better. Like I am doing better here. You know, take stock of your accomplishments, Taurus. You're doing fabulous. Okay, and I feel like you need to see that for yourself. Yeah, the Star. It's like the only way you're going to heal from this lack mindset is by entertaining the idea of maybe you do have enough. Maybe you are doing enough. Maybe you are good enough. You know, I feel like a lot of you entertain the what ifs. Well, what if something bad happens? What if something catastrophic happens? Babe, a meteor could hit my house tomorrow. We have no idea. Okay? You guys are entertaining a lot of the what ifs here about the negative when you should be entertaining the what ifs of the positive. Ace of Wands with the Tower. What if it goes better than I ever thought? What if the month is more booked and busy for me than I ever thought possible? You know? I feel like for a lot of you here, it is going to be about reprogramming those what ifs and not letting, again, that negative mindset take a hold of you and be like, well, things are, you know, catastrophizing. Things are going to get bad. You know, this is going to happen or that's going to happen. You know, I mean, even your outcome is the King of Wands, babe. Taurus, you are looking set for July. You look fucking good here, babe. All right. And I feel like you need to start telling yourself that you look good here. You feel good. You look good. It radiates outward. Okay. That's what this is all about. Yeah. You have Temperance that just fell out of the deck. I feel like you've taken your time here. You've been meticulous. You know, I don't feel like any of you are kind of flying off luck right now is almost what I want to say. It doesn't feel like any of your success has been built off luck. It's been built off of very hard work, Taurus. Okay, Four of Cups and Strength. You are the only person in the room who doesn't see your own worth. You need to remind yourself, I'm going to say it again, that in this reading, all your success was built off of hard work. Nothing here is a fluke. Nothing here is just a, oh, weird twist of fate. I won the lotto. No, absolutely not for you, Taurus. This is a lot of hard work. There's a lot of hard decisions I also heard, but this is also keeping up with it. Putting the work in, showing up every single day, and maintaining consistency has gotten you to where you are. You need to give yourself credit here. But you should also be using this to disprove the idea that you have of you are not good enough. The things you're doing are not good enough. You will never be good enough. All these things are disproven simply by the sheer amount of success July has in store for you, okay? Let's get you guys an oracle card. As always, I'm using the Angelarium. That is the oracle deck we will be using today. It's my favorite. So, what does Taurus need for July? Taurus in July, please. Thank you. Interesting. You guys got Apollyon, Angel of the Void. Apollyon? I don't know how to say it. I just, like, I don't know. Where is he? I passed right over him. I did. Okay. The number is 65 for those of you that are into numerology. All right. This card suggests that an unseen force in your life is exerting its will on you. While it may not be possible to see the thing itself, you can sometimes see the shadow it casts. In the moment between moments, there is insight into the ways in which silent things speak. Trust your intuition to gain access to information that your conscious mind cannot access on its own. All right, Taurus. Like I said, I feel like this is just your success. Like I said, you're doing so well. Literally bottom of the deck is the Angel of Coin. Okay, you're doing so well. You should be very proud of yourself, guys. This is going to be a very, very good month for you. It's just going to be a lot of very deep inner digging and soul work, all right? Taurus, I will leave it there for you guys. If this reading resonated with you, if my reading style resonates with you, do consider leaving a like and subscribing. We are on the road to 100 subscribers. If you would like to engage with me on a live setting, I will be live Wednesday and Friday on Twitch from 6 to 8 p.m. EST. We do readings there. We do personals, collective, the whole 9 yards. And Saturday, 4 to 6 p.m. EST as well. I hope to see you on Twitch one of these days, Taurus. But if not, it's okay. I will catch you in the next video. Bye, everyone.